Good morning, dear students. Welcome you all to the lecture video session on modern small and business enterprises, institutional support for this business enterprises from the module 4. In the previous lecture videos, we have discussed about the SME and then the SME cluster, small and the medium enterprises, how it evolved, and what were the institutional policy resolutions (IPRs) that the government has floated in order to support the small scale industries. Here in this lecture video session, we are going to discuss about impact of liberalization, privatization, and globalization, which is popularly called as LPG model in India. So we also discuss about ancillary units or the ancillary industries and the tiny industries, which are also the small scale industries, but in the size it is going to be different. And we are going to discuss about the advantages of both these type of industries in this lecture video session. To take it further, let's discuss about the impact of liberalization, globalization, and privatization in India, LPG model, which was announced in the year 1991. So, impact of this LPG model was both good and bad in terms of many significant factors that was considered. So, in the liberalized movement, when we compare the SSI's performance in the previous years before the liberalization of the policies have happened, we understood that the SSCs were facing a lot of problem with the finance because the payments were delayed from the customers, payments were delayed from the raw material suppliers, and everywhere there was a problem of the financial flow. With the liberalization, the payments, the delay in the payments got reduced, and then the flow of the finance right from the input to the output got smoothened. And second problem what we observed before the implementation of LPG model was the adequate amount or the finance availability for the SSI sectors were very less, and the credit facilities that were extended by various suppliers as well as the purchasers were very less. But with the effect of LPG model that was constituted in 1991, this particular problem got addressed, and inadequate availability of the finance and the credit facilities were liberalized, and then thereby the SSI sectors got the promotion of getting the finances, the adequate amount of finance the required for to run the industry without any stop or without any break. So the third major point in the LPG model, that what the changes that we observed is that earlier there were the marketing problems because normally the SSI was supposed to meet the demand of the local people. But with the evaluation of this LPG model, this market problem got eradicated, and then the larger amount of the SSI sector products got into the globalized globalized market. So once the market got liberalized, there was a huge demand, and then the new products got introduced into the sector, and the customers entertained these products, and then there was a huge demand for the products all across. So this kind of marketing problems, which was only given exposure to the local people, got reduced, and then the SSI products got introduced on the horizon. And earlier, before the LPG model got evolved, the technological upgradations were very less because it was going around only with the localized technology, which was usually implemented in the SSI sector. But with the evolution of this LPG model, the technology upgradations also happen, and removal of foreign direct investment (FDI) promoted the SSI industries because the availability of the finance, and then the people who are interested in investing in the SSI came forward, and then that promoted the SSI sectors even in a better way. And a lot of foreign investments came into India because of that economy level, and then the GDP growth also happened in a larger way and in a remarkable way. So the competition to the domestic market got increased. Because of the increased competition, quality products start coming into the market, and once a quality product came into the market, the cost of the product got increased, but the affordability of the of the customers also was increased. Because of that, the producers or the SSI manufacturers got the better benefit and then the better profit in terms. So with the LPG model, there was a shift in the strategy of SSIs, and the quality maintenance got improved, and then the volume production also improved. So there was a huge definition, and there was the definition of the small scale sector is broadened from the small scale industries to small scale enterprises, and it includes all the business enterprises in the services sector as well as the manufacturing sector. And this also included the small scale industrial undertaking which are engaged in the manufacturing, processing and the preservation of goods in with the investment in the plant and the machinery not to exceed 5 crore. This would include the units engaged in mining or quarrying, servicing or repairing of the machinery. So the tiny industries as well as the ancillary industries definition got broadened, and increase in the tremendous growth of in the GDP, and then the revolution in the Indian currency as well as new trade policy got floated, and then with the import technology improving further, and then the goods coming from the import technology improvise the technology in the domestic market as well. So encouraging that foreign tie-ups became became a boon to the local industries, that is the Indian industries, and then the privatization in the public sector brought lot of competition in the sector as well. So with this we can see that the liberalized movement and then the globalized movement and then the privatization of this SSI industry with the LPG model really got a boon, and really got a market that is opened in the globalized environment. So the growth and the performance of the SSI in India pre and the post liberalization period, if we compare, then we can see the tremendous growth of the output of by SSIs, that is a small scale enterprises, went up from 28,060 crores in 1980-81 to 5,78,470 crores by the end of 1999 to 2000. So there was a humongous growth, and we can see that this particular growth came from the LPG model instituted in 1991. So there was the increase in the multifolds nearly 20 times of over the period of 20 years, and exports gone up by 30 times over the period of 20 years, and with the export and then the import market, the employment generation went up to scalable limits, that is it went very high in the year 1994 to 1995. If we observe the employment generation in the year 1995, it recorded all-time high, and then the employment generation during 1995 to 2000, it was very low. So during the year 1991 to 1995, we could see that there was the improvement that has happened in the SSI sector really gave a boon to the employment generation as well, and it directly impacted the local industries, and it also brought in the good technology as well as the market. So next one is the WTO or GATT. What do we mean by WTO? WTO is nothing but World Trade Organization, and then the GATT is nothing but General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. This was a treaty that was signed by a group of 123 nations, and these 123 nations agreed to the principle to promote the trade among members in 1947. All these 123 nations which signed a treaty on GATT, that is the GATT in short form, and these 123 nations signed up saying that they are going to promote the trade among all these member nations. So the GATT was a multilateral trade global initiative that was initiated by the 123 nations. So what is the effect of GATT on Indian SSI? We can see that the GATT has got a lot of effect on Indian SSI. So World Trade Organization, and then the objectives of a World Trade Organization, if we see, the first and the foremost objective of the WTO was that optimum utilization of the world resources to improve the income and standard of living all across the globe, and that should promote the employment as well as it should expand the production capabilities. The second objective of the WTO, that is the World Trade Organization, is that it to encourage the sustainable development of the nation and to ensure that So environment care is taken and developmental activities together. So the WTO is an umbrella organization for overseeing the implementation of all agreement, whether it is multilateral or plurilateral, by the group of members regarding a particular issue that have been discussed under the Uruguay round or will be dealt in the due course of time. So this WTO frames international standardized labor wages and working conditions. It globalizes the trade and weeds out of the corruption at government level while dealing with the procurement policies. So what are the effects of WTO GATT on Indian SSI? When we see the GATT, that is the General Agreement for Tariff, Trade and Tariff, we can understand that there is a huge impact that has happened because of the WTO and the GATT. When we think about the GATT objectives, when we discussed about the two objectives, the third most important objective that what we can see is that it is that WTO is also responsible for settlement of the disputes among the member nations, and it also facilitates procuring the new technologies from different countries at the lower cost, and it also monitors periodically the policies among the member nations. And the WTO agreements covers goods, that is the main agreement of the GATT that we can say. For example, all Indian products or industrial products, FMCGs, and then the consumable durables, including services, that is main agreement of the GATTs, and banking, insurance, consultancy, all these are going to be under WTO agreements, and it carried the intellectual property, that is the TRIPS. For examples, patents, copyrights and trademarks, all these came in the WTO agreement. And the two very important principles that serve as the edifice, we can say, as of most agreements are: the first one is that most favored nation clause, that is MFN clause that we call it as. And what is this MFN clause is that it exhibits that there should be no discrimination among member countries. All 123 member nations should be treated equally. And the second most important edifice of all the agreement is that second one is the national treatment clause, that is NTC, and this emphasizes uniform treatment in case of imported and domestic product. Now let's discuss the effect of WTO and then the GATT on Indian SSI. What is WTO, and how exactly this the effect of WTO and then the GATT is studied on Indian SSI is that we can say that because of the WTO or the GATT, removal of many import quotas became a very interesting one for the betterment of SSI, and reduction in the import tariffs happened, and then the removal of quantitative restrictions in 2001 came into picture, and also all the subsidies all the export subsidies, like in 2003 it created the huge competition. So when the export subsidies are given to the manufacturers in the SSI sector, they have started exporting the products which are unique to the particular local or the region. Then they entered into the globalized market. Nearly 586 items got de-reserved from the SSI, and they were placed on the open general license, and now the reserved items out of 834, 586 got removed, and only 114 items still stay in the reserved under the SSI sector. So because of this, as we understood that WTO agreements focused on the patent laws, and this tightened the patent laws. What is the effect of tightening the patent laws is that imitations got reduced. Like a product used to got imitated, and then you could have heard about the like the many music compositions which used to get imitated. The copied, and the tunes got copied, and many things like this. Like with the effect of WTO, this patent laws got tightened, and reduced imitation of products with a valid copyright only came into picture. So the copyright, trademarks, and then the patents, this started protecting the intellectual property rights, and then the global market got created for the Indian SSI products, and not only the manufacturing. Service sector in India has been specially benefited by WTO, and then it already captured 25% of the Indian exports. And World Trade Organization introduced anti-dumping, strict labor standards, environmental safety, and other safeguard measures. With the anti-dumping, all the products from the China market used to get dumped into Asian countries as well as Europe countries got restricted, and then because of this intervention, the Indian SSI got a boost, and then the manufacturing sector, which was under the severe threat of closure, got the better benefits, and then they started working, and then they got the better market in the globalized market scenario. So with this, we are going to see what is the new definition of MSME, and then the new definition of MSME says that micro industries, that is the micro SSI, says that the top limit for the investment is up to 25 lakhs. If it is a manufacturing company, if it is a services company, then it is going to be up to 10 lakhs. If it is a small scale industry, then if the investment is over 25 lakhs, between that is 25 lakhs to 5 crore rupees, is called as the small scale industries when it is a manufacturing sector. If it is under services sector, the investment limit is from 10 lakhs to 2 crores. Then the unit is called as, or the enterprise is called as, small scale enterprise. And medium scale enterprises, the manufacturing sector investment limit is between over 5 crore to 10 crore, that is between 5 crore to 10 crore. If the investment is between 5 crore to 10 crore, and if it is a manufacturing sector, then it is called as medium industries. And if it is a service industry, the investment limit will be between 2 crore to 5 crores. So the manufacturing plant means plant and machinery, and then the investment should be there, and services means investment in the equipment should be there. So it is also proposed to link to turnover size, and then if the turnover is around up to 5 crore, it is called as micro. If a unit has got the turnover between over 5 crore to 75 crores, then it is called as small enterprise. And if the turnover is between over 75 crores to 250 crores, then it is called as a medium enterprise. With this, we come to the end of the WTO GATT and then the SSI sector classification. And then see you all in the next lecture video on ancillary and tiny industries, which are the two different types of industries, and it is the industry which is going to define that what exactly the small scale industry can do as the outsource industries. Thank you everyone, and see you all in the next lecture video session. Thank you.